stories I've been told, they never seem to leave my mind. And this road that I am on, I gotta stay here for some time.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and to my favorite time of year. So I have lots of fall homemaking inspiration for you in today's video. There will be a little bit of decorating, cleaning, cooking, and make sure you watch until the end for my very favorite fall dessert recipe. Starting with the decor, it is very minimal for fall this year. I have really pared down and basically have 3 pieces that I'm adding to our decor that I reserve just as seasonal decor. So I've got these 2 pumpkins. One is mercury glass and the other one is made of wood, and the wreath that I put on our front door. And that is it. I have this apple and this pear, which I think have that sort of fall vibe going for it, and so I grouped it with the pumpkin. And then I'm just going to clear off this table and switch things up a little bit by just adding the pumpkin and removing a couple other elements to keep it simple. As I said, I've really pared down on the seasonal decor. So that's very specific decor for a particular season, like pumpkins, for example. I do have a lot more for Christmas and I'm working on paring that down, but I'm pretty happy with where I've gotten with the fall. I do like for the seasons to be reflected in the way that I set our table. So I try to pick linens that have colors and textures that are in line with that season. And so it doesn't really scream seasonal decor, but it sets that mood for our home. And so each season I like to do a little reset inside to reflect what's going on with the weather outside. I'm keeping things very simple. This is just an everyday table setting just for Patrick, Peyton, and I. We will not be hosting Thanksgiving at our home this year, so I am not putting a lot of effort into a really beautiful tablescape. So this is just what we're going to enjoy for fall this year. I rarely know exactly what I'm going to do until I try a few things. My first idea was to bring this piece from our butler's pantry. I have moved this in different locations all around the house, so you've probably seen it before, but I think it's got the perfect colors. I love the battery operated candle that I've put inside because I can set the timer, and then when we're having dinner, we can enjoy the candlelight. But I don't know, it looked a little stark on the table, so I swapped it out for the vase that I have in the living room. And while that looks good, it's not exactly giving me that fall sort of feel that I was going for. So I brought in the wooden tray, which I often have on this table, and I feel like it gave it a little bit of texture and gave it a little bit more height. So this is what I'm sticking with. Decorating is not my forte, but I do enjoy it, and I mostly just like to keep it simple and switch things up a little bit once in a while. Here in Texas where I live, the fall is one of the best times to enjoy our backyard, and we've neglected things a little bit over the last month or so. It had been really hot, and as you can see, things get incredibly dusty here in a very short period of time. So I often have to come and sweep up and clean out whenever we want to eat outside, and I'm hoping that we can do that more and more now that we're having very enjoyable, more crisp fall weather, especially in the evenings, so we can enjoy eating out here. But I'm not going to enjoy it until I clear out some of the clutter and clean things up. I don't know why I waited until after I dusted off the chairs to move them out of the way. It would have been a lot smarter to get them out in the yard and do that. Mental note for next time. A couple of times a year, and so probably pretty soon, Patrick and I are going to do a more deep cleaning out here where he gets out the power washer and we really get things clean. But right now I just have a limited amount of time, so I am just going to get done what I can, make it a little bit more presentable and therefore a little more enjoyable so that we can spend more time out here. It's not perfect, but I did accomplish what I set out to do. The table is nice and clean so we can eat on it, and we can sit out here and enjoy this gorgeous fall weather without the clutter and the dust. Big part of what makes cooking fun for me is changing things up with the seasons as well. And so I am turning to the Cook Once Dinner Fix cookbook once again, and I found 2 recipes that I feel like really fit the bill. This cookbook is great because you prepare 1 protein and you get 2 meals out of it. I love that I can fix a brisket and then use it for 2 totally different meals. And so the first one is a classic brisket with gravy, mashed potatoes, and asparagus. And the other one is for Mongolian beef bowls. And I also love that she includes things like variation that I can use for the Instant Pot. And that way I can really speed up the process of making the brisket. I'll have the recipe book in my Amazon store if you want to check it out. I also know that my local library has it, which is a great way to try before you buy. And I like this one, I think, even more than her previous cookbook, because if you're not into all-out batch cooking, this is a very manageable way to do your meal planning and to get a little bit ahead during the week. For the Instant Pot option, set the Instant Pot to saute and pour some olive oil into the bottom of the pot, and then rub salt all over the brisket. And the recipe calls for 5 pounds of trimmed beef brisket. And cut the brisket into 4 equal pieces so that it will fit nicely into the Instant Pot. Working in 2 batches to avoid overcrowding the pot, add the brisket to the pot and sear for 2 to 3 minutes on each side until browned. And then transfer the brisket to a plate and repeat to brown the remaining pieces. Don't worry if you don't have an Instant Pot, you can prepare this in a Dutch oven. Just prepare the meat the same way. Add a little oil to the bottom of your Dutch oven and on your stovetop sear the meat. Once it's nice and browned, add about 1/2 cup of water to the pot, cover it, and then bake it in your oven at 325 degrees for about 4 hours. Back to the Instant Pot. Once I had all of the pieces nice and brown, I removed them to a plate and then I poured in 1/2 cup of water. I used a wooden spoon to scrape up all of the bits on the bottom. That does a great job of deglazing the pan, and it avoids having a problem with burning. That can happen with the Instant Pot, and sometimes you'll even get a message and it will sort of abort cooking. So make sure that you don't skip that. Once that's done, you can return all of the pieces to the pot and lock on the lid, making sure the valve is set to sealing rather than venting. Then press either the meat stew button or the pressure cook button and cook it at high pressure for 1 hour and 10 minutes. Go along with a brisket, I've got 2 simple sides to prepare. So while that is cooking, I'm working on mashed potatoes and roasted asparagus. For the asparagus, I start by lining my baking sheet with some nonstick aluminum foil. That works really well. And then I toss the asparagus with a little bit of olive oil and then just sprinkle with some salt and seasoning. I love this vegetable seasoning blend from McCormick's. It's just so easy and it tastes great. So that is usually my go-to for asparagus and any other vegetable really that I like roasting. They will go in the oven at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes or so. For the garlic mashed potatoes, I used about 1.5 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes that I peeled and cut into 1-inch cubes. I boiled them over medium-high heat for about 15 to 20 minutes or until they were fork tender. Then I drained them in a colander, returned them to the pot, and added 3 tablespoons of salted butter, 1/4 cup of sour cream, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and then a little bit of fine sea salt and ground pepper to taste. using a potato masher or a handheld mixer, mash the potatoes until smooth and well combined with the other ingredients, and then keep them warm until you're ready to serve. I recently purchased this potato masher. I had to replace one that broke, and I love this one. I love that the handle is really wide and you can really sort of get on top of it, and it makes the job super easy. So if you're in the market for one, I have this in my Amazon store. When the brisket is finished cooking, allow the pressure to release naturally until the lid opens easily, which takes about 15 minutes. Transfer the brisket to a cutting board and let it rest for 10 minutes before slicing, so that gives me just enough time to make the gravy. I took a half a cup of the beef broth and drippings from the pot and added it to a small saucepan. Then I added a quarter cup of balsamic vinegar, in which I had already mixed in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to make it gluten-free. If you don't need to worry about being gluten-free, you can use all-purpose flour. Bring to a simmer over medium-high heat and then add 1 tablespoon of fresh lemon juice. This came out so good. My family loved it. The balsamic gravy was amazing and really different, and the vegetables were the perfect size. Even though asparagus aren't seasonal this time of year, they were wonderful, and you can certainly swap out another vegetable in its place. With the leftover brisket, I made Mongolian beef bowls, and this was so easy. It only took about 15 or 20 minutes to put together. And I started off by cooking some rice according to the package instructions, and I like to do that in my Instant Pot too, by just combining equal portions of rice and water and a little bit of salt. Then in a large skillet, melt 4 tablespoons of butter over medium heat. And then working in batches, add the cooked brisket, which I sliced rather thin, and sear on each side for about 2 minutes until the slices become slightly crispy. And then transfer them to a bowl or a plate and repeat with the remaining brisket. Once the meat was finished, I removed it from the pan, and just using the same pan, I mixed up the sauce. So I added 2 cups of coconut aminos, 1 teaspoon of toasted sesame oil, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, a half a teaspoon of ground ginger, a half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes, and a half a teaspoon of fish sauce. Add the beef and green onion to the sauce and toss to combine, and then cook over medium heat for about 3 minutes until the green onions start to wilt. Serve the beef with rice and garnished with some sesame seeds and a little extra green onion. This was so delicious, my family loved it, but I have to say it was a little salty, so I think I would probably reduce the amount of coconut aminos I used and maybe add a little beef broth, or somehow decrease the salt a little bit. But other than that, it was amazing and my family loved it. If you're still here, I want to thank you for sticking with me till the end of the video. I think you'll be glad you did because I'm going to share with you the easiest and my favorite fall dessert recipe. This is for pumpkin pecan crisp, and you can make this gluten-free or not depending on the cake mix that you use. For the base, you'll need one 15-ounce can of pumpkin, one 12-ounce can of evaporated milk, a half a cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, a half teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Make sure you preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and then just combine those things together in a mixing bowl and stir well to combine. I will have this recipe down in the description box so that you can copy, cut, and paste if you like. And for the other 2 recipes, they are copyrighted recipes. So if you need printed versions, I will have that cookbook down in my Amazon store, which you can find the link for in the description box. Or like I said, I can find it at my local library, so you could check it out there. Pour this mixture into a lightly oiled or buttered 9 by 13 inch baking dish. Then you'll just layer on the rest of the ingredients. So start with the cake mix and just evenly distribute it all over the pumpkin mixture. Then sprinkle the pecans over the cake mix and pour the melted butter evenly over the top. I told you it would be easy. I love easy recipes, especially ones that are this much of a crowd pleaser. So we don't have really any pumpkin pie lovers in our family, but everybody adores this recipe. I'm making this to take along to some friend's house. We have been invited for dinner and I'm bringing along the dessert. And I can tell you, since we've already been there and done that, that they loved it too and asked for the recipe. Peyton has already asked for me to make it again, so I'm going to be making it at least one more time before fall is over. Bake for 1 hour or until golden brown and allow it to cool for about 10 minutes before you serve. It's amazing, topped with a little vanilla ice cream. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know down in the comments what you're doing to switch things up for fall. While you're at it, give me a thumbs up. It really does help out my channel and lets me know that you love videos like this so that I'll make more. I want to also invite you to subscribe if you haven't already done so. We'd love to have you join us here at Faith and Flour. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, have a wonderful week.